telling stories is a big part of business, right?
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma.
Hi, Femi. Nice to see you again.
You too. Nice to see you, Saríce.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I feel like
I
you
am
have
too.
the skills and talents that every mompreneur needs in her for her life and business. So let's get into it. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Femi Lewis. I am a Bronx girl through and through, made here and raised here. I am the founder of Femi Writes. I'm a content marketing strategist for service-based entrepreneurs. And so I support them in developing the right messages at the right time in their business. Also, a small business journalist, focused on economic development, telling stories of entrepreneurs. So that's pretty much who I am today, in addition to being a mother of two children, and I have a husband, and we have a really dope life.
Yes, amen to that. A really dope life.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what,
it. That's the best
that's
way to
all,
put it.
right? Those are goals to have a pretty dope life. I feel like a lot of talk this year is about around storytelling. Everybody is, I don't know, I feel like that the algorithm is at least pushing that out to me, the importance of storytelling. And also with ChatGPT and everything, the importance of writing and how to differentiate yourself from the generic AI, AI
Right.
content that's out. So those are like two topics that I want us to talk about now. We'll start one by one. First, we'll talk
Sure.
about the power of storytelling. You tell stories and you're a writer.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I guess I'll give the background that I worked in journalism for a number of years, on some in the business section. And one of the things that I really realized was telling stories is a big part of business, right? Um, Sharing challenges, sharing how you got started, sharing why you want to grow, right? And so, life takes many iterations. And I became a high school teacher for a while. And again, teaching young people how to share who they are in this world and share their greatness. And then later on, I came back to writing and working as a journalist, but then also seeing the need for small businesses to really know how to share who they were. And the heart of that is being able to tell your story. What is there some saying like whoever tells the best story wins? And
Yeah.
and it's true, right? So you hear about entrepreneurs who are actively sharing who they are, right? Professionally and personally. And in this digital age, we all want connections. We don't necessarily want just your product, right? Just the lip gloss. I am going to buy a lip gloss from a woman who's got this great story about why she decided to start a line of new lip glosses for women of color, right? Versus just go to Sephora and pick up that lip gloss. I might pick up that lip gloss in Sephora, but that other thing resonates with me more. So that's the power of storytelling for me, is that it's all about value, right? Providing people with your value, um, and sharing who you are so that they can feel like this is who I need to know. This is who I need to build a relationship with.
Right, absolutely. Like a lot of people think those are stories are like the main driver of our purchases. We think it's like
Mhm.
logical or necessity, but the reason we'll choose one brand over another brand is because the story that we believe about that brand. So yeah, it's really powerful. I was listening
And
to,
we don't even realize that, but that's
yeah,
the truth.
right.
That's the
It's just
truth.
stories, right? I was listening to a YouTube video of Myron Golden, and he was talking about how branding, specifically premium branding, it is just the story that you want to be a part of. Like, You'll buy
Absolutely.
a Louis Vuitton bag because you want to align with that story of like luxury and premium. So,
And personal luxury and personal, like, I mean, if that's how you're defining success, I mean, to be able to drop 2 grand on a purse, I mean, I feel like I would feel a little bit more successful, right?
yeah, it's
I'm
just,
sauntering if I saunter into a networking event and somebody sees me with this, there there's something about certain brands that make you attract you and make you say, "Oh, what's up with that person? What do they have going on?" So I think it's really just about positioning your value.
yeah. And do you have any, like, your top tips, maybe like say top 3 tips for mompreneurs out there that want to use storytelling and or like writing tips in order to raise their brand awareness or some marketing tips?
Sure. So I can give a couple of tips around storytelling. The first thing I want you to do is to think about your target audience. So if you are a business or, even if you're a writer, right? Think about your target reader and what do they need to know about you so that they will feel a connection, right? But then I also want you, I guess this is number 2, to define who you are, right? And what's brought
That
you
part.
to this space, right? Because a lot of us don't think about that. We think, okay, I am making scrubs and I'm selling them at pop-up shops, or I'm a coach, or I'm this. No, you have to define who you are and then define who you are as an entrepreneur, right? And in the heart of that is your story. So for many years, I I was freelancing and doing different things. And I was doing them while my daughter was small. And when I was pregnant with my son, I remember I was in my car in my driveway and I had just pulled over on the road and had an impromptu interview with somebody that I had been trying to get on the phone. And I remember pulling into the driveway and feeling like this is what I want to do. Like I don't necessarily want to go back into the classroom. This is what I want. I want to be a writer again and just write. And if I want to teach writing, that's part of it. But I want the focal point to be as a writer and to tell stories. And that was like my defining moment. So being a mother and my children is a big part of who I am as an entrepreneur. And I think, when you are thinking about your stories, right? So also think about your challenges and how you overcome them. That shows your resilience as an entrepreneur and that gives insight to people with how you deal with things and why they should rely on you to solve a
Mm.
problem for them. So I say, so that's 3. So target audience, what they need from you defining yourself, and what is your purpose. And number 3, thinking about those challenges and solutions and how you have actively sought to overcome challenges and solutions as an entrepreneur or in other parts of your life that will lend themselves to people really wanting to build trust in you.
Wow, thank you for that. I think feel like the last 2 are really valuable because you hear, I feel like I hear often in marketing where they say, know your target audience, know your client
Mm-hmm.
avatar. And that's like repeated again and again. But the second one, like know who you are, that was something that like I heard like not that long ago. And I was like, wow, it sounds so simple, but that's true. I had to think about for myself, like what differentiates me from other dietitian, nutritionists, what like, from
Mm-hmm.
other mom entrepreneurs. And the third one that you said, like sharing, like why, how can you help me? What are the obstacles that you went through and how did you overcome that? And I think that shows a lot of our personality, like
Mm-hmm.
depending how we deal with it. Yeah, I think those are really valuable tips. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And you made me more intrigued as you were talking about that moment in the car where you decided like that's when I want to be an author. This is what I want to do. And then I remember that we kind of skipped your mompreneur journey. But yeah, let's just rewind it and talk about
So,
your mompreneur
so I
journey.
was a high school English teacher after I had stopped working in journalism. became a high school English teacher. And then I had my daughter, and we didn't have anybody to keep her. So I stayed home with her. And while I was home with her, I was freelancing. I was the African American history expert for what's now thought.co. And I was learning a lot about like SEO and online content creation. And I was like, I need to find some other platforms that I can also be marketing myself on. But I really was just kind of side hustling it, like doing stuff when she's napping or whatever. I wasn't
Right.
really thinking about it in this poor thing. My thing was, I'm going back to work. And then I got pregnant with my son and still had that in my mind. I'm going back to work. And then that moment happened when I was in the car, and it kind of put me in overdrive even after he was born. Like, this is what I want. And for a moment, I actually did go back to teaching high school, and I didn't last long because all I was thinking about was what I really wanted. And I realized that I liked teaching writing, but I liked being a writer more. So,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't just about, working for news publications. It was also the idea of working in content marketing and helping actual entrepreneurs be able to share their own stories and, how you show up on social media or how you want to show up in emails and on your website. So those things really drove me. And as they got older, my desire grew and ideas just kind of blossomed and opportunities came, and that was it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power in like making that decision, and then things just flow. Because you mentioned how you went back, but then you stayed true to your calling and what you felt. And some people would say, no, go back to your security, but you had the confidence and the knowledge of yourself and your
Right,
abilities that it would be okay. And I think that's
right,
a differentiating characteristic of a lot of successful entrepreneurs, that we're like confident. I had that same kind of debate where I was offered a position like a higher position than I was at before I went on maternity leave, and at first I said yes, and then it took them a while to send the contract, and then I was like debating about it, and by the time they sent me the contract to sign, I was like, okay, we need to talk. I got
can I do
I
this as
changed
a
my mind.
consultant? Can
Yeah.
I be a contractor? And
Yeah, I changed my mind. And during those days where I took that time, I'm luckily they did. That was from the universe. But yeah,
yeah. And
wow.
so I adjunct, and um I love that, right? I love working with college students and graduate students on their writing and how they show up. Um, but by all means, like, my heart is right here as an entrepreneur, not as an employee. So yeah. And I think it,
Yeah.
it also makes a difference in how your children show up in the world. Like when I had to explain to my daughter what I did, then I kind of said, oh wow, you can make money and not go to work like daddy does. um, yeah, but it takes a lot. And like somebody once said to me, when we're as an entrepreneur, nobody's gonna ever save you. You gotta have things in place to save yourself. So, I think her seeing and my son too, but he doesn't really get it yet. But her seeing me constantly networking, talking to people, doing things, working on projects is really, influencing her development and who she wants to be. And I think that's really
Definitely.
powerful, especially for young girls.
Yes, especially for a young black girl. Like she knows that that's going to be the norm in her life. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
beautiful.
she had last year, she told me, she was like, Mommy, nobody believed that you were a writer. So I Googled you and I
Oh,
showed
what a
them.
flex.
I showed them that's my mom. And they were like, because I don't use my married name. So they were like, well, the only reason we believe you is because that's who picks you up from school. And my picture was there. But otherwise, they were like, no, that's not your mother. And she was like, look at the picture. And so they believed it, and they were like, wow, her mother's on the internet.
I like how they get excited from little things like that. Like my nieces and nephew, they get like they tell their friends that I'm on YouTube. Like every third person in the world. I want to get into the AI topic, Chat GPT.
Sure.
But so what do you think about this whole world? Do you think that AI will be able to replace writers, or how can people navigate that now, differentiating their work from AI?
I think so. A lot of people that do content creation have felt that way. And I don't know who said it, but it was like, ha, that's how I feel. The person said, no, it's not going to replace us all. It's going to replace the people who don't know how to work with it. And that's
Mm,
how I feel too, because there is a learning curve and there are certain things that you have to have in place before AI really works. AI is a tactic, it's a tool to generate something. You have to have a strategy in place, goals, and an understanding of your objectives and what you want to achieve in your business before you even start putting things into chat gpt.
right.
So I had just done a series of workshops about how entrepreneurs can use it to develop certain content. And at the heart of it all is brainstorming, right? For me, AI is a really good brainstorming tool. In that,
Yeah.
if you say, okay, I want to create this series of blog posts on, whatever, and you say, provide me with 10 blog post ideas on wellness and nutrition for perimenopausal women who are BIPOC. Well, then it's going to give you 10, right? It's up to you, the human, to look at those 10 ideas and say, this will work for my business. This won't work for my business. And then take your human touch, add the storytelling, and think about your next steps. You could take one of those ideas and say, provide me with an outline. Okay, so now you have an outline, because that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stumped, is in the
Right.
brainstorming session. Like you're like, yeah, I want to write this blog post, or I want to do this YouTube video. And then you're like, wait, I have to write a whole script. I'm exhausted. I haven't even done anything yet. Well, AI can come up with that outline for you. And again, you have to be discerning, make sure that all of those steps that they've included are steps that need to include. And then add your story, add your personal, what I call your secret sauce that only you as an entrepreneur have, and your value and your expertise and your stories. And that's it.
Yeah,
So that's why I
definitely.
always say, like, defining who you are and knowing your target audience is so important. And then after that, understanding what your goals and objectives are. And then you can use a tool like AI. So I tell people all the time, like, you deciding to purchase a later subscription or a convert kit, you have skipped over tons of steps and chosen a tactic versus worked on the strategy first so that that tactic makes sense.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's the mistake that I made in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I didn't have the strategy right. I was just going in and doing whatever I saw they said you're supposed to do on YouTube, landing page, this, that. And I kind of
Right.
skipped some steps. But
And
yeah,
that's, you know what, that's totally fine, because done is better than perfect. I think sometimes we like get into the analysis paralysis of things, and we miss just great moments that could be a story. Like, you wouldn't, if you had known to do all of those steps, you wouldn't have discovered certain things on the way that made you a stronger influencer, right? So it's just all about taking the moment and being part of the experience.
yeah, I like that. And it's so true about the chat GPT. It can help with brainstorming and ideas when you're like you're stuck and you have that block. That part it is really helpful. But I really
Mhm.
like that idea is using it as a tool and not like replacing art because it can't really replace our creativity.
Absolutely, it can. And the other thing is that we know. Like somebody sent me an email last week and I was like, oh, this is Chat GPT all the way, right? Because they were talking about optimal results and I was like, okay.
That that's when I feel like you need to go back to the second piece of advice that you said, who are you? Because
Mhm.
sometimes I'll like try to use it. I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. I would not use that word. Like whoever knows me.
Exactly. Exactly. So at some point, I guess I need to come up with some sort of toolkit for entrepreneurs. Like you need to have like a list of sayings or things you only you would say or do.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With your voice. Hmm.
So we talked a bit about that. Now let's go into about like tell me a little bit about your family and your role as a mom alongside your business.
Okay, so I have two children, a girl, she's 10. Oh my goodness. And I have a
10 year
little
old.
boy. Yes, and she's a quiet, sassy 10-year-old. So
Love
she's
it.
adorable. She's really smart. And then I have a 7-year-old. And yeah, they're both like breath of fresh air, blessings. And I have a lovable husband. We just make it work. He's very understanding about, and that's the other thing. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to make the decision not to go back in the classroom if we hadn't had certain discussions about what we wanted for our family. So, you know, it was both of us felt like somebody needs to be here for both of them. And nobody is ever going to work themselves to the bone unless it's absolutely necessary. So, he is like somebody that goes to work and comes straight home. He doesn't take on other work. Of course, if anything was ever needed, it would happen. But we're very much about our family and creating as much balance as possible, right? It's not always easy, but I mean, my children know I stop my day at 2:30 and I come pick you up from work. And then we do homework and we do other things. And after that, I might have to go back downstairs and do some work. Or I might have to go in the room and close the door and get some things done. And so they understand and they work with me because I work with them.
That's great. So you set like time blocks that where they know this is now I'm in mommy mode and now I'm in CEO
Right.
mode.
Right. And they understand. And I mean, like they're getting older. So like my son will even say, like, are you on a work call or are you just running your mouth with your girlfriends? And then he'll just come and ask. But they know, like if I'm on a Zoom call or whatever and I know they're home, I'll always preface it to the person, look, my people are home today. So they
Mm,
might interrupt if there's an emergency, but they also have an understanding of what emergencies are and they have rules of engagement. So like I say to them all the time, if you guys have a disagreement and I'm on a Zoom call, don't fight each other. Just somebody come and get me and I'll pause what I'm doing.
yeah,
But I feel like the more you set them up for understanding to advocate for themselves and to try to diffuse their conflicts in ways that make sense, the better off for you. It'll be less stressful. That's not to say that I don't have stresses. I have tons of stresses. But I think prefacing with them who they need to be makes things easier for you.
that's a great parenting tip for all the mamas out there. I'm gonna note that one.
I know.
Take note.
I'm noting it for myself.
Yeah. I'm still not there yet because my son, he's almost 2, so he still doesn't understand quite like when this is quiet time, this is work
Yeah.
time or whatever. Like right now, he's with my husband because if I would have
Yeah.
just had him here, it would have been chaotic. But yeah, I plan
Absolutely.
to like, I hope that the more he sees me and he'll grow and he'll understand like that mommy's working and this is time when mommy's with me,
Hmm.
this is time when mommy's working, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
think
you
he
know
will.
what? When they were young, I honestly I used to try to drive myself crazy and do things while they were present. And I just realized it wasn't the time. And so make time when there is time, right? So that meant, yeah, if they're both home for whatever reason, they're not in nursery or in school, um, then that meant that time was with them and that either I had to get up early, which I really don't like, but it works. Get up early or put them to bed and take a shower, shift your mind and do some work,
Yeah,
So
that's where I am now.
yeah,
My
and that's
office
it.
hours.
Yeah, like you just realize like you can stress yourself out more trying to make it work when they're running around doing craziness than if you just say, I'll just pay attention to you right now and I'll get my time later.
Yeah, I
And that's
like
what I
that.
did.
And you'll be a lot more productive because
Exactly.
that's exactly what I was trying to do, and I was like, this isn't working. I'm not doing anything, and I'm not fit. So let me just stop and try to do it later. Yeah, I learned that really quick.
Absolutely.
And what about with your husband? Because you have a family, both of you guys work, and how do you make time for each other? Because I feel like that's such a challenge.
It
And
is a
especially
challenge.
like at the end of the week, okay, there's no school and everything, but then you're both exhausted. Do you have like date nights? What do you do?
So we don't have date nights because we don't have a ton of like people that could just take them for us. But one thing we've been doing is like sometimes he'll just come to me and he'll be like, I could get next Wednesday off. Do you have anything to do on Wednesday?
Oh, love
Like
that.
that. And I'll check my calendar and I'll be like, well, I have until 12 o'clock. And so then we'll take the kids to school in the morning and we'll go have breakfast and
Oh, I like
maybe
that.
we'll
Little
do something like
spontaneous
he
dates.
loves going to Home Depot. I hate going to Home Depot. And I'll be like, if you go to Home Depot, I'll go to Home Goods.
And it's a date.
But, yeah, but like you could just steal little time like that. Or sometimes, I mean, the kids are getting older, so we will tell them, but there are certain shows that we like to watch. And so we'll just be like, we're about to watch our adult shows. Go in the other room and play. And we just sit on the couch. And I mean, you just have to make time. It's not what it was before they came. And it's not gonna be that ever again, right?
Right.
So you just have to be in the moment. That's something I had to learn at the time because I really missed that before time for a very long time. But you just learn like this is why we did this,
Right.
right? We wanted them, and so then yeah,
Wow,
they
that was
get
so
stayed.
real. And I think that's something I can resonate with that as well. Like, sounds like conflicting because, of course, we love our son and he just changed our life in such amazing ways.
Hmm.
And it's so funny how you can love something so much, someone so much, but then at the same time also grieve the life that you had before. You're like, oh, but remember we used to do this. But then I had to, like, accept it that that was a time, it was a beautiful time, and but it's over. And this is a beautiful time as well, just
Right.
do in a different way. And then just enjoy the moment because eventually he's going to be like 18 and we'll probably beg him to spend time with us. And we'll be
Yeah.
stuck, the two of us
This
again.
time is gonna be over too.
Right?
This like my daughter when she turned 10, we were like, wow, we've done this for 10 whole years. I think we were more excited when she turned 10 than when we had our 10th anniversary. I mean, it was like we were happy, but we were both like, wow, we've had
Yeah,
a whole person that we've nurtured and loved for
for
10
10
years.
years.
And so those moments you realize like every moment of their life is so important, and as long as you are present and you take care of yourself so that you can be really present for them, you will have the space to take care of another person too.
Before we close out, what was some piece of advice that you would give yourself at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I stuck with it, so I can't say stick with it. I guess
No, but you
just
can. Like you're
yeah,
telling yourself stick with it because you know now that you did the
right.
right thing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, huh. I think I've made good decisions. I mean, it hasn't been easy, right? Entrepreneurship is harder than going to work, even though there are like caveats, like you don't have to deal with the crazy coworker and all of that stuff,
Ask
right?
for vacation days and beg
Right.
for this and beg for that. And I'm just,
Exactly.
you're still at your, you're going to go way further than this. We're taking in consideration that, you know, it's not over. Femi Lewis is going to keep going and thriving. But
Exactly. Exactly. So I think just be ready for opportunities and don't be afraid, because there have been times that I have been very afraid and kind of like pull myself back when I should have pushed myself forward. And I learned from those moments in a
mm,
big way, right? So that I knew how to manage fears so that I could move forward. So that's what I would say.
wow, I
Yeah.
love that.
I think managing fear is a big thing for women. And I would also say, don't blame stuff on your kids.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
the kids are in the
taking
way.
notes.
The kids are in the way. I can't get this done. No, you can get it done. Give them some melatonin, and
Right, that part.
if you believe in melatonin or whatever it is you do for them, give them some, sprinkle some lavender on them, send them to bed. You
Some
take
laugh.
a
Yeah,
you
relax.
take a bath. You take a bath with some peppermint, and you go and get it done.
Oh, I love
Like,
that. Use
yeah,
some aromatherapy powers and get it done.
exactly.
Oh man, this was so much fun. Thank you so much, Femi. And also, what I had to ask you, I really like your name. What does your name mean?
It means God loves me. It's a
Mm,
Yoruba name. It's Nigerian from the Yoruba ethnic group. I am not Yoruba, but yeah, it means God loves me.
I love that. That's such an
Isn't that so?
affirmation. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, I never even thought about it as an affirmation, but absolutely it is.
That is, and every
So
time
thank
someone
you.
says your name, they're like they're saying that, they're repeating that. Wow, I love
I
that.
never even thought about that. Thank you.
Wow. Well, tell us, wonderful, beautiful family, where can people connect with you? Where can they learn some more of your writing insights and work with you?
So I have a freebie, 5 storytelling prompts for entrepreneurs who want to start sharing their story or thinking about what their story is. And I will share the link with you.
I'm gonna download that one.
Yes,
Sharpen my
thank you.
storytelling skills.
Please do. Please do. The first place you can find me is Femi Writes. That's my website, www.femirights.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm Femi Lewis. And you can find me on IG as Femi Writes and Facebook, Femi Lewis Usanga.
Well, thank you so much, Femi. This was so much
Thank
fun, and I
you.
hope we get to have a conversation again in the
Yes,
future.
absolutely, Saríce. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Maternity Leave. I hope you found value in this episode. Your support means the world. By subscribing, leaving a comment, and sharing this episode with another mom entrepreneur, you'll help it grow and reach more incredible guests who can share their insights and guidance. Until next time, take care, love on your loved ones, and make it happen. You got this.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.